Thank you for tuning in to The Aligned Operator by Bellaconnections. If today's conversation inspired you, share it with a fellow entrepreneur who's ready to grow with more focus and less chaos. Remember, scaling your business doesn't have to mean losing balance. It just takes clarity, consistency, and connection. To learn more or connect with our community, visit us at bellaconnections.com. Thanks so much. Today we have an awesome guest, Miss Kamila Gornia. She's going to be sharing some incredible insights on us of how she scaled her coaching business to multiple six figures, actually 300,000 a year, with only 10 hours a week of work. And that is without sales calls. Y'all, who is ready for a no sales call week? Right here. So I'm super excited about this. She's gonna be sharing her sales systems, the way she uses ads or targeted strategies, as well as a lot of the marketing insights and ways that she does with her branding and messaging and everything else. So Kamila, thank you so much for being here. Really excited for this.
Yay. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Michelle.
This is going to be awesome. And just so you guys have a little bit of background on Kamila, I actually met her through a colleague had introduced us. And after we had like a quick conversation, I was like, man, I have to bring her to this group. She is just incredible and like so much knowledge. So Kamila is actually the founder of Heart Behind Hustle and Evergreen Icon, and has been supporting online coaches and entrepreneurs with marketing and sales since 2014. And she's helped many reach six figures in yearly revenue. So she helps her clients scale by creating evergreen group programs that are easy to run and easy to sell through automations, funnels, and paid ads, and without the need for sales calls or posting daily on social media. Please save me. No, I'm kidding. Allowing to create true sustainability and freedom in your business. Today, her advice has helped over 25,000 entrepreneurs, which has resulted in over 2 million in revenue. And Kamila's actually been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur.com, Inc., Huffington Post, and several others. She's just an all-around badass, and we are really lucky to have her here today to just give us some more information and the details of how she does this and how she scales so many brands. So thank you so much for being here, Kamila.
Yay. I'm super excited. I think that it's almost like so weird to say that I've been in business since 2014, because it's like almost 2024, and I'm like, it just feels so weird at this point.
I mean, you've been around the block. You've been honing your skills for almost 10 years now. Like, that's incredible. And that's a huge milestone and journey, and congratulations, because so many people, they don't make it this far. And, you've, I'm sure, learned many lessons along the way that I hope you're willing to share with us. But I'm mostly, I guess, do you want to tell us like how you started back in 2014? Like, what got you started on this journey?
Yeah. I mean, so this isn't my first business. And I'm not going to give the very long drawn out story, but I've been kind of dabbling in other side hustles before the coaching business started out. So I had a photography business. I had a health blog. I was doing kind of a lot of things. I've always been this type of person that likes to create and then like make something of it, I guess. And after I graduated college, I started to like identify that like, oh, advertising is interesting, marketing is interesting. Like I had a degree in that, but I never really thought I want to have a business, especially not in the marketing space, which is so funny because I feel like sometimes people are like, I've always wanted to do this thing. And for me, it's like, I didn't really always want to do this. I didn't even think that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, to be honest, even though I naturally was. But when I started the marketing coach, originally it was just marketing consulting, marketing coaching. When I first started that in 2014, the main reason is I wanted to just start kind of sharing what I was doing with my marketing clients. I was working in a marketing agency. I was a social media manager, and I love to kind of combine the elements of like psychology, which was also my degree, and the social media stuff, and all of it was really interesting. And I wanted to start blogging about it. And after a while, because I had the blog, so I kind of had the experience with that. And after a while, I decided to like, okay, well, I think I need to monetize this. I need to be a little bit more like, let's see if I can actually do something with this. And that was the first time that I actually made the decision, like, can I make this into like a legit real business versus like a side hustle where I just make a few thousand here and there. And from that process, I ended up hiring my first coach, which was, I never invested in myself in business and marketing advice or education before, aside from college. So for someone that's like fresh out of college, working at, an entry-level job as a social media manager, like I wasn't making a ton of money. And it was very scary to invest like thousands of dollars that I did not have into this thing that I didn't even know if it was going to work or not. Because it was so new. Like the only things I really knew how to do is how to build an audience. That's how I knew. I felt like that was my skill set. I knew how to build an audience. I knew how to create content. I had no idea how to sell. I didn't know how to create offers. And in fact, anything that I tried selling in the past didn't really work very well. So the money that I made was mainly from like people that reached out to me with the photography, and I somehow got to know people through relationships, or it was through brand sponsorships with the health stuff, with the blogging. So I was like, okay, now I'm going to create an offer and like get clients and do the thing. And I realized that I was very, very bad at selling. I felt extremely uncomfortable with selling, and it just felt so unnatural for me. And I also knew that because it felt so unnatural, I needed to really master it and get good at it if I wanted to do this thing seriously. So this is why I hired my first coach. And fast forward, I learned all the things. I got really good at sales. I got really good at marketing. I hit 6 figures the year after starting my business and kind of continued from there. But what I kind of identified is that just because everyone's doing business in a very specific way doesn't mean that I had to do things in that same exact way, even though everyone was telling me to do things in that exact same way. And I think that when you're newer in business, it can be I think it's really valuable to follow what people say that you should do, because if you're just starting out and you don't actually know what works, it's hard to know what rules to break without knowing the foundations. And I think in the beginning, I was kind of trying to do that. I was like, I know what to do because I know marketing. And again, the sales part wasn't really there. And I decided to just like follow everything that people were telling me. I learned high ticket selling. I learned how to overcome objections. I learned how to create high ticket programs, group programs, all that kind of stuff. I mastered ads. I did all that. And yeah, after a while, I was like, I know how to do these things. And I know there's certain strategies that can be more effective to get me clients and to get me clients that I want. And it actually wasn't until I think it was 2019, late 2019. So it was right before COVID, where I'd been kind of healing from burnout because I was going super crazy and like calls and launches and all that stuff, which worked really well because I was already making like 300K at that point. When I was healing from just like exhaustion from working so hard, I wanted to just kind of strip things back down to what I really felt was moving the needle for me in a way that felt aligned for me. And that's when I actually started to experiment with the idea of like, what if I didn't have to do sales calls? What if I could just not do that and do something else instead? And that actually for me meant that I had to stop selling high ticket. And I needed to look for what has been the easiest thing for me to sell and what has been the easiest thing for me to sell without talking to people. And how could I deliver on an offer in an easiest way without me having to feel like super responsible and like super in there with people? Because in that time, I really wanted to have more spaciousness and I really wanted to not have to work so hard. Like my goal was just to like less work, just the most essential work, and that's it. And that's when I started to focus on mid-ticket programs in the like 500,000, 2,000 range, sometimes 3,000 as well. And just kind of see what happens. So I started doing a few launches. I started putting some evergreen systems in place, and lo and behold, it like worked. And I went from 300K with high ticket and like hustling and working like 80 hours a week to burning out and making less, making maybe like 100 and something, but still working and like not knowing how to figure things out, to back to 300K, but now working very little and having people that are coming in and they're still very excited and they're like, wanting to be transformed. And I feel like that's where I landed and that's what supported me in the best way. So now now I get to have all this space to experiment with other things and like have this spaciousness again. But I think, yeah, that's kind of where everything started, I think.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And so like, to be at that space, manage that many launches and dealing with that many handling that many high ticket clients and everything like that it's a lot. Like, the burnout is real. We've all experienced, pretty significant burnout. Sometimes you just need phases where you are like taking a step back. So for you to be able to grow these kind of lower and mid-ticket offers to that same level, I know is something that a lot of people have been asking about lately. And it's really impressive. It's really impressive. I'm kind of curious, like, what do your like mid-ticket, low ticket offers look like compared to what the high ticket was?
Yeah. So when I was primarily selling high ticket, I focused on selling masterminds and obviously private coaching and like services like that. So it was very high touch. I did retreats, I did events, and it was really focused on not as many clients, but more, yeah, just higher level clients. And I really enjoyed it too. So don't get me wrong. Like, it's not that it's a bad thing. And I do have high ticket offers in the back end now too. But for me, I also the other aspect was like, I didn't really want to have to keep showing up in person. Like, it was just like all of it. I just wanted to not do it. And so I stopped doing masterminds. I haven't done a mastermind since probably 2018 or 2019, like the beginning of 2019, even though that was like the main way I was making money. And I brought it back down to more step-by-step course curriculum with a group coaching offer that is a lot more scalable and a lot more evergreen. So most of my programs, and they have kind of shifted over the years. I usually have a run of any program for about like 2 years, 3 years. So there was a program I started running that was primarily focusing on more entry-level people, like entry-level coaches and course creators that just wanted to like start knowing how to book one-on-one clients, because that's what a lot of my people wanted to know about. And instead of like what I would normally do in a mastermind, I'd just be like, okay, we're going to show up for a training. I'll do some training stuff. And then we have coaching calls and mastermind calls, and then we do the thing. And it's like very in the moment rather than pre-planned and like step-by-step. And I wanted to go back to the step-by-step because I also saw some people in the mastermind that were kind of like still needing some extra support, still needing some of these like basic steps. So I created the program. That was the first. I mean, I've created other courses, but it was like the main program that I was like, okay, let's see what I can do with this. This is going to be the thing that most of my mastermind clients are saying. It's like the most mind-blowing thing that I teach them. So I'm going to break it down into very simple steps. Literally, how do you like step A, step B, step C, like literally how do you implement everything so you can get results? And I put it into a course curriculum. And I included a Facebook group and Q&A calls, and it was super simple. So if I had 5 people or I had 100 people, I would still show up the same. And I did a few scalable launches for that. So scalable launches are basically a launch that's like replicable. It's like rinse and repeat type of launch. And I did that several times, and it sold out like really amazingly every single time. And that's kind of where I was like, okay, I can bring in 25, 30 people every single time. I can do these launches once a month or every other month. And I could keep bringing in these new people who are taking the steps and they're getting results, but I don't have to work as hard and I don't have to feel quite as like emotionally responsible for people's results because everything is already like, they just need to follow the steps. It made it so much simpler. So I actually had to kind of shift from targeting more advanced entrepreneurs to more beginner entrepreneurs, because that is the format that a lot of like the entry level beginner type of people tend to resonate with more. And that's kind of what I've been focusing on since then. I've implemented a few other offers and kind of other structures as well. But my main offers, I would say like 80% of the time when I launch something, it's in the mid-ticket range. And it's usually a course curriculum, maybe a Q&A call a month, maybe 2, something like that. Maybe community, maybe not, depending on what it is. And the main focus has been the course curriculum. And that I think has been the biggest, most important thing, because a lot of times people create course curriculums in a way that's very educational. And for coaches and course creators and for your clients to actually get results with a course curriculum, that's actually not the way to do it. So that's been kind of a flip that I needed to do. And then, yeah, so it's been just a lot more packaged up, I guess, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's been the biggest shift.
like streamlined, like organized in how you're doing that, and like creating those steps and everything too. It helps with like how you're teaching and how they digest it as well. So you mentioned not making it as much educational. Is it more like very action oriented and like smaller, simpler steps? Or
exactly. So when it comes to like the curriculum, instead of being like, what do I have to teach them and what do they have to understand, and there are elements of that for them to take action, they do have to understand certain things. But I think the biggest thing, and why people always tell me like my programs are so easy to follow, is that I really break it down to like, what is the action they need to take? What is the goal? What is the outcome that they need to reach at this point in the journey, And then I structure the lessons in accordance with that specific milestone, that specific outcome. So then everything that they're going through, it's pushing them to feeling like they're actually doing something versus just sitting there in front of a computer and like, okay, I'm kind of like bored and it's like whatever. So I think honestly, that's been the reason why so many people have been enjoying my programs as well, is because of that easy to follow step-by-step type of structure.
Yeah, that's huge, because like, I think the biggest thing that I see, well, for myself and a lot of other people, is going into programs is like, I don't want to listen to an hour and a half, 2 hours of, concept, as much as like, I want to know like what needs to happen and what I need to do. And I want to learn, of course, I want to learn, but I want to learn, what I need to learn to be able to take the action that I need to take. So just having that clarity and those steps lined out and somebody to guide you, like coaches are so valuable in growing your business. I think that's a really, really, really cool and valuable way that you've found to help people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. And I know that we've kind of like briefly said this, and you told me before, is like, you've been able to scale this to multiple 6 figures without having to do sales calls, which is just wonderful. How do you do that?
Yeah. So, the number one thing is the entry level price. So I really focus on, so I do a lot of ads, and, everything that I come up with in terms of like messaging and marketing, it always has to be relevant for cold traffic. That's kind of how I look at things. Most people who come up with marketing or offers, they do it from a perspective of like, what does my existing audience want? But if you have only a certain amount of people in your existing audience, then you're like naturally going to cap out, and you're going to struggle with selling to people who don't know you. So when it comes to that, I think the biggest thing was making the price point of my offers for people who didn't know me a no-brainer. That didn't necessarily mean that they were cheap. It just meant that the value that they were getting was way more than what the price was. So it had to be like aligned in that specific way. So that was specifically for those entry level like courses, those easy to run group programs. I also started to incorporate a lot of very low ticket offers. And again, the biggest thing, it's like, once you have a customer, it's easier to sell them to them again, whether at $1,000 price point or a $2,000 price point, or even at a high ticket price point, which again, I do also have a high ticket offer. But the biggest thing was like, how do I convert people from just being strangers into being buyers? Like, that's the number one thing that I needed to do. And a lot of times going from, I have no idea who you are, a person I just found you, to being presented with like a $10,000 offer, it can be a little bit jarring for people. It's like, you and like all these other people are selling me the same thing at the same price. And like, it's a lot. And I don't know if I'm ready to commit because I just got to know you person. Mm-hmm. So if my number one goal was, how do I just get buyers? It doesn't even matter what price point. It was like, okay, well, let's create a lot of low ticket little offers that people can buy into very easily as an impulse buy. Let's create my entry level program that's $1,000, $1,500. So there's still a lot of value. It gives them gives them a lot of wins. It gets them results and helps them make money or progress in whatever way that might be. And then when they're ready to move to the next level and they're already feeling like they're intermediate or advanced, they can move into my high ticket offer at that point. And everything has been, the way that everything was structured was allowing people to just get into basically a momentum of action. So they're primed to take action. They're primed to like have a positive experience when they buy my stuff, when they interact with me and stuff like that. So when they first see me and they see my low ticket offer, it's an easy price point. Okay, I'm in. They get great value and they're like, wow, this is amazing. Cool. I see the $1,000 offer. The webinar is really good, which we'll talk about in a second. This is good. I'm interested in that. Let me just say yes. The program is amazing. I'm getting results within a week. Awesome. Then, because I do have high ticket offers on the back end, I'm going through, I'm kind of like, I've already bought with you, Kamila. I've already purchased various things. I've gotten results with your stuff. Now I see that you have this higher touch program, which is still very scalable and very evergreen in terms of how I structure it, but it does have a lot more hands-on. Like I actually know my clients and I'm actually like in it more. It's like, well, I think I'm ready to do the things that you are doing in your business now, Kamila. So let me go to that step. And at that point, it's like, oh, it's $1,000 or it's $10,000. Well, because I already have the relationship with you, yeah, I'm ready to sign up for this and take the next step. So it's kind of like, we know from like the value ladder and like the steps, it's kind of that, but it's not exactly that because people can skip steps. But it's really, to me, it's about like having a human relationship. It's not trying to ask someone to marry them on the first date and just like expecting people to say yes. It's like, I expect people that they're going to be a little bit hesitant because they're bombarded with people like me on social media selling them different things. And I am aware of that. We're in the most competitive niche there is online, which is like, let me help you make money. Like everyone's doing that. Everyone wants to be doing that. And so the biggest thing is just like, how do I help this person see that it's like, just take one extra step, like just one step. You don't have to go and buy a gazillion-dollar offer, like this little thing or sign up for this and let me give you some value. So the other aspect with that, just not even speaking to the high ticket offer, because that's more of on the back end. I really see sales calls. I mean, sales calls are just a sales mechanism. That's all they are. So that's what I asked myself, what if I could replace this sales mechanism with a different sales mechanism? That's really what it was. And the sales mechanism you can replace it with just a sales page. If it's a low ticket offer, a sales page on its own is enough. It could be a video, like a VSL, which again, for a lower price offer, that could be enough. It could be a webinar. So people are actually live with you. You take them through the emotional elements, the psychological elements, and have them be like, okay, is this for me? Is it not? And you could do that. Or you could do a launch, which is like a multi-day experience, typically a 3 to 5 day type of experience that helps them really see the value of your offer and have a transformation process and stuff like that. So that's what I did. I replaced sales calls with webinars and launches, and I do more of an automated type of launch. So that's been the biggest thing. I do some DM selling for the high ticket program, but I also don't really do sales calls for that program either, even though it's a $10,000 offer. And I think the biggest thing with that too is that I don't go into selling with the energy of I need to get the sale. I don't really care if I get the sale. My goal is to show up and control the things that I can control. And the only things I can control is like how I show up, what I say, whether I'm providing value for people, how I structure my webinars. That's the only things I can control. I can't control whether people say yes or no to me. And because of that, I have a very leaned back, I think, approach to selling. I don't chase people down. I don't hunt them down. I don't try to like pitch to people who aren't ready to hear it. I'm very respectful and very permission-based with selling, including on the webinar. Like my webinars are not the typical, like, you get nothing out of it. It's just my hero's journey the whole time. And then there's a pitch. Cause it's like, I've been to webinars like that. And I'm like, that was a waste of time. Like that sucks. It's really about me making sure that when people come into my world, they get a good first impression. If they're aligned with me, obviously, they get a good first impression. They get some kind of value. They get an emotional shift. They get a mindset shift of some kind. They see things in a different way. And if it aligns for them, if you feel good, and they're ready to hear it, they're presented with the offer. And it's, I think, a no-brainer offer. And a certain percentage of people are ready now, and a certain percentage of people are not ready now. And that's totally okay. And that, I think, is what has helped me to create the results that I've had. It's, just everything kind of working together and me allowing things just to kind of unfold as well. So, yeah.
No, I think that's huge. Yeah, that's really huge, like helpful and huge, obviously, is, and also like you kind of touched on it too, is that the permission marketing and the way that you're branding everything to them. So really attracting the people who align with you and, speaking to them in a way that, they're gaining the value, they're getting the action that they need to move themselves forward. And you give them permission, but they're also you're teaching them how to give themselves the permission to do this. So and to take that action, to make that next step. So I know like brand building and how you communicate with your audience is a big piece of all of this. What do you think are like some of the key points of messaging that you really rely on?
I think the biggest thing is just identifying what are like I call them philosophy pillars. So what are the things that if I was to think of you, I knew that you stand for these specific things. So for me, for example, it's like, I'm a huge fan of like automating and having the automated sales systems, and that's a big thing. For me, the other thing is mid-ticket. I'm a huge fan of mid-ticket. I'm not the person that's going to teach everyone how to just focus on high ticket. I'm the person that has the no convincing policy when it comes to selling. I'm the person that loves ads. And I actually think paid ads are more important than just organic for the longevity of the business. And I stand very grounded and rooted in those philosophies. So when I share content, when I run ads, when I send emails, those beliefs come through in all of the content that I create. And what this allows for me to do is, number one, it supports people who are open to thinking in the same way, to be like, okay, I understand, I value that, I'm going to stick around because I want to either do it now or I want to eventually have my business be running in that same way because I'm sold on the belief. And then there's also some people that'll be like, this girl is nuts. I do not resonate with this person at all. She is crazy and she needs to like stop her business immediately. That's totally okay too. And I welcome these people to unsubscribe and go away, right?
Yes,
but I think
not for me.
yeah, but that's, I think the biggest thing, it's like, it's not hiding your beliefs. It's not hiding. And when it comes to the niche, obviously, I think people can go a little bit intense with like personal beliefs. I actually personally don't believe in sharing all the things about yourself, personal beliefs, because I think honestly, that's not really relevant to most businesses. But the philosophies and opinions and beliefs that you have that are relevant to the niche that you're in, I think people need to know that. And you need to be very opinionated about that. And not trying to always share all the caveats and stuff like that to kind of soften it and try to be liked by everyone, which I think is very difficult. And it's not like super easy for me to do either. It's just a decision. It's like, this is what I'm going to be known for, because if I'm trying to be known for everything, it's going to be really freaking hard. Like I'm just like everyone else, basically. So I think that's been the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that when, the no convincing selling and all that is just so helpful. And I know because the part of like your automated sales process is a big way for you to still create those sales and of people who are aligned with you, sharing your vision and values and all of that. And then utilizing that automated sales process. So, I mean, you did speak a bit about it. You use the ads to a sales page, you use webinars or long form sales. Do you have it set up just like an evergreen funnel or, okay.
Yeah, pretty much everything is evergreen, with the exception of when I do my scalable launches. So those are live events that are typically they're pre-recorded. Sometimes they're fully live, but sometimes they're pre-recorded. And the way I think about that is just events, like an event to serve my community and to provide some kind of a shift. And those sometimes are free, sometimes they are paid launches where people have to pay to participate in the launch. And it kind of ranges on the year how often I do it. Like this year I only did a launch twice. The year before, I think I did it more frequently. So this is kind of the other thing. And we talked about this earlier. I think that there are seasons in every business, and there's more energy or less energy that we have at various times in the business. And I think it's okay to honor that. And I think this is why I believe having an evergreen foundation and using automation and using, including like AI, like I've been digging into that a lot and using that in my business a lot too. But evergreen funnels, like having everything that's set up and really primed to convert. I honestly think every business needs to have that, because if you do have a lower energy month or quarter where something maybe crazy is happening in your life that you're just like, I can't possibly participate in my business in the way that I need to, is your business going to stop? Are you going to like see $0 months? Or can you feel confident that you are going to continue seeing sales coming in and people buying and recurring payments coming in, even if you're not fully present in the business? And for me, especially with COVID, but even just like life, I think that has been very obvious. I've had some clients that got COVID and then they were like out for months. I have one client that was like, I'm dealing with long symptoms from COVID for like 6 months and I haven't been able to like really show up and my business is hurting. And I'm like, this is why you need to set up these systems, because it's like people think, especially in the coaching space, people think it's optional. I can just show up on social media and just do things. And it's like, yes, you can do that and you should, because it's great and fun. But then sometimes you literally physically can't. So like, yeah, I went on a tangent there, but
No, I think that's huge. It's really valuable because there are going to be periods where, what if something really, tragic does happen to you or a family member and you need to step away, but like your business and your livelihood depend on you being in it at all times. It's just not realistic. So setting up, programs, courses, different offers, and these automated processes make such a big difference for any business to be able to really thrive and give you those breaks when you need them and let you kind of take a step back. But it also gives you times so that you can create new things and new ideas and generate new, which I can tell with a smile on your face, you've created some fun new products since you started doing this, I'm guessing. How often would you say like you create new stuff? And yeah,
this is also a thing that really depends on my energy, and I really go through cycles where I'm just like bursting at the seams with ideas and energy. And then I'll create like 3 different offers in a month. And then there's like months where I just like do the bare minimum, basically, where I just like, I don't really show up on social media. And social media is one of those things where I don't actually show up a ton. I usually show up around launches or like whenever I feel like it. That's because I run ads. So I'm like, I don't have to do social media as much. By the way, anyone that isn't running ads, I do think you need to be doing organic and like social media. I think that's kind of important. But yeah, there will be quarters or even like had a year where I literally was just selling my Surface Sell program, which is like the main course I told you about, like the entry level course. That was an evergreen webinar, just running ads, the webinar, selling the course. Emails were all automated. I had a long-term email sequence that was continuing to promote the offer. And that's all I did for like entire year. I didn't do anything else. I had like 2 private clients because I don't really promote my private coaching that much. And that's all I did. Because I didn't have the like mental capacity, I think, to do anything else, I think. And then this year is a lot better. This year I'm like, okay, let's kind of like experiment some stuff and let's try this type of offer and this other type of offer and let's do a workshop and let's do this other thing. And then I'm sure there'll be another time where I'm just like, okay, now I'm ready to chill again. I'm just gonna like hang out and watch Netflix all day for like weeks on end. And that's totally okay too. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I definitely want to create more space for that in my business and life too. Just to like, take care of your own health, but also I feel like it gives, even just little breaks. Like I just got off a week trip, just traveling and giving myself some mental space, popping around the fall leaves and the amount of like ideas and like new ways of doing things and streamlining things and organizing and just new products and stuff like that. It just makes such a difference when you have that mental space where you don't feel like you have to show up in a certain way at all times. So creating these offers is a great way to do that. And I know a lot of people have really kind of struggled with how to sell products like this, sell outside of high ticket, and especially with ads. And it seems like that's something that you've really dialed in. Like, I know we've talked before, like a lot of the push for pull marketing and marketing to women. And like, do you have any like tips for the ad side or any of the marketing side that you really think is useful for people to lean into selling programs like this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just the messaging has to be really dialed in, and it has to touch on that ideal client's specific situation, specific desired outcome. And you really have to know your ideal client like inside and out for any ads to be successful, for any funnels to be successful, for social media like posts to be successful. And this is the step that I think most people skip because they either say, well, I'm my ideal client 2 years ago, so I know what the problems are, so I'm just going to speak to that. And that's like 5% of the equation, because you're just literally taking a sample size of 1, and that is not enough to say that everyone feels the same exact way. So doing a lot of research and truly, again, understanding how your people are phrasing things. How are they what are they thinking? What did they think are their problems? Which is another big thing that for people who are experts in their space, or even, just coaches, and they kind of know more because of the experience they've had with other clients. We know more than what our clients do. Like, we can pinpoint the actual problems for clients, and that's why they hire us. But the reason they hire us and why they continue to hire us and keep renewing in your programs or your one-on-one or whatever is not the reason why they sign up in the first place. The reason they sign up in the first is because you specifically call out the things they think they need help with. And it's kind of like the balance between both of those. And a lot of times it just takes some time to identify what that message needs to be. So I think social media is a really good place to test out different angles and different ways of communicating your offer and kind of seeing how audiences are responding to that. And just kind of going with that. I think a mistake that people a lot of times do when it comes to content or messaging in general is just educating people on stuff and educating and giving tips and stuff like that. I feel like that doesn't really help people feel what they need to feel. So if we think about it from the perspective, like the psychology perspective, for a person to want to buy, and not even buy, but like take action and change their current situation, that action does not happen from a place of logic. That doesn't happen because I was sitting there analyzing things and then being like, logistically and like logically, I think I am ready to make a transition and make a transformation for myself. Yes, sounds great. Like, no one thinks that way, right? People make decisions to change from a place of emotion because something happened, something like some kind of a catalyst occurred, and it brought them into their heart, into this space of like, either it's overwhelm in a positive way, overwhelm in a negative way, whatever that may be, they're feeling a lot. And for people who are posting content or emailing and they're just like giving tips or giving like advice or education without knowing the person, it's like putting a Band-Aid on these people's desires for what they actually want. It's like, you really, like, you're struggling with this emotionally. I'm just going to tell you some logical things so that you feel like, oh, it's interesting. And you feel good. And the person feels good for a second, but they're not going to be in a place to be like, okay, I'm going to go and, sign up for this course or this program or this like coaching or whatever that might be. Because they're just not in the mental space that they need to be in order to make that kind of decision. So I think the biggest thing is like, again, really understanding your ideal client and communicating that. Like, that's the biggest thing. Same with ads, same with social media posts, same with email, and prioritizing that type of message is going to be really key. And just one other thing I'll mention is specificity. So especially for anyone who is in a crowded niche, which I think 95% of us are in a more crowded niche, obviously it's more challenging to stand out. It's more challenging to sell. That is normal. And the way to start standing out is to narrow in, laser focus in your messaging to a very specific problem or a very specific type of person. As long as there's enough people in that space, I would prefer having you do that, especially with ads. Oh my gosh, ads work so well when the messaging is laser focused, when it's specific, when it's like specific problem or a specific person. I have clients that are generating leads for like under $1 because of how specific their messaging is. 2 webinars, like it's wild. And yeah, so it's like it's so challenging for coaches, especially because coaches are so love to share coach speak and so such jargon and stuff like feel better, transform yourself, or like feel confident. Like, that means nothing to me. I don't know. What does that look like?
Yeah.
So it's challenging yourself to think in a way that your ideal clients actually think, because I promise you, they're not staying up in the middle of the night being like, if only I could be more confident. No, they're like, oh my gosh, if only I could stand up to my boss and just tell him to shove it. Like, that's what they're probably thinking, a specific situation. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's so helpful. Like, we're not sitting in bed thinking, gosh, I wish I was transformed to this way where I felt more confident. And no, it's like, being able to speak to those specific instances of what you're helping them with and the ideal outcome to them. So do you run like a multiple, like, because you do have to get pretty specific. So you're going to eliminate some people, but that's good because you're, spending the money on the people who are coming for it. Do you ever run like multiple versions, like on different specific, I don't know, things that you're targeting, if they could all be helped by one bucket?
1,000%. Yeah. So that's like, before I start running ads, I come up with a few different angles and a few different approaches for how I want to communicate what I want to communicate. And I kind of run them against each other and kind of see which ones are going to be the most desirable or the most high converting. And sometimes it's several. And I do find that sometimes people just need to see different angles of the same offer before they're like, okay, this was the one that actually made me buy the thing. So yes, 1,000%. I was gonna say something else and then it flew out of my head, so maybe I'll come back.
No, I think that's really helpful. And like, you're targeting them with multiple ways that you're helping them, multiple outcomes they're coming to too. So
the other thing I was gonna say, yes. So yes to that. And I also very specifically aim to only speak to people who are ready for change. So I never try to write. So if we're thinking about there's awareness stages of how aware is someone of like their problem and that sort of thing. So a lot of people will create ads, which eventually, once you've scaled enough, like you have to do that. But I try to not get into that because it's harder the sales cycle is longer. But there are people who are fully unaware, where they're just kind of like living in la la land. They're just like cool with everything that's going on. There are people who are unaware of their problem. And a lot of times people try to run ads or create content for people who are unaware of their problem, where they have a problem. They're just like not really focusing on it. And I see people doing this all the time where they're like, do you ever feel tired? Did you know that coaching can help you? What is coaching? Coaching it's like, that's when you're speaking to a person that's like, they're just like, oh yeah, I guess. And they weren't really thinking about the fact that they even had a problem. They do have a problem, but they're not like focusing on it. And I think a lot of times people try to like just focus on those people. They're like, let me show you that I have a problem. I can fix it. It's like, they just realize that they have a problem, they're not ready to fix it. Because in order for someone to go from, I just realized I have a problem, to I'm ready to fix it, they are going to have to go through their process. And that process is very rarely, I realize I have a problem, I'm ready to spend $1,000 on fixing it. That doesn't really happen. They go from, oh, I do have a problem. Now I'm aware of the problem aware. I'm aware that I have a problem. Okay, interesting. The first thing people are going to try to do is, let me see if it goes away. That's the first step. Because maybe it'll just go away by itself.
Now that they're aware, yeah, maybe it'll just go away, or they don't see how big of a problem it is, because it takes time to like recognize and understand all the areas that it's affecting. So targeting people who are looking for the help that they need and they're aware of the problem, they just don't know how to fix it, and being that person. That's interesting. So like the awareness cycle, like you're specifically targeting people who they're aware, they know what's going on, they just don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. So the goal is, let me just fix this. There we go. The goal is speaking, my most effective ads are speaking to people who already know that they want the solution. Like they already know they want the solution. They might not know exactly what the solution exactly looks like in detail, but they know they want it. They're ready to do something about it. So a lot of times using language like, you've tried a lot of things and maybe you've thought about doing this, or you've done this, you've tried a few different things. Like you're not just like new on the block. That I feel like is just speaking to the readiness of the person. And also it's speaking to the person that hopefully has invested in trying to fix it, because the first investment that someone makes into their transformation in whatever way that looks like is the hardest, because now they have to admit they have a problem and that they're actually like, it's severe enough to the fact that they actually have to like pay to fix it. So I try to speak to people who have like already attempted at figuring this stuff out. So yeah.
and just not been successful at it yet. And that's where it comes in with your step-by-step action plans, which is super helpful. I feel like, talking to you more, I'm guessing your audience is more female because, the action steps and like just the way that you speak to them, the permission and everything. Is there anything else that stands out to you that, that is best when you are targeting a female market for like,
that is a great question. It's so interesting because I never actually say that I just work with women because I don't only work with women. I do have men, and there's like 1% of my clients that are men. It's very small, probably even less than that, actually. Every program I run, there's at least like one guy. Evergreen Icon, which is like the main program I'm running, that's the higher ticket program. I have no men right now. And I'm just like, when is there going to be the first one that just comes in and it's like adds some, different energy in there. But I think, honestly, as a woman, I think it's just easier to attract women naturally because, the situations that I share in my own personal life are a lot of times going to be more relevant for women. So that naturally creates a point of connection. And I think the other aspect too, because of my approach, I do find that a lot of times men, and I'm trying not to generalize, but a lot of times I feel like people who are more in the masculine energy, people more in the masculine energy tend to be more attracted to a very more of an aggressive type of way of marketing. They like to be to the point, and I like to be to the point too, but I think I like to kind of soften the edges of the directness a little bit. And that really resonates for a lot of people who are more in that feminine type of energy. So that's kind of where I think it's more about the energy probably versus like gender specifically. So yeah, just like helping people, like, I understand, like, it's okay that you feel this way. Helping them really get seen, helping them see that, like, I understand their situation. I understand, I empathize with what's going on for them. I think it's that like element of empathy that's in there, the speaking to like feeling a certain way. So there's a lot of like feeling words in there as well, versus just only outcomes and just only like features. I think a lot more storytelling probably goes in when targeting women versus targeting men. Again, that's not to say that I don't do the other, because I do a lot of direct response type of content as well, and emails and stuff like that. But a lot of times it's just a combination of all of it. Almost kind of see like brand building as like more feminine because it's a little bit more like well-rounded and more holistic and more tapping into the energy of things, versus the direct response being more like, this is the thing, here's the problem, here's the solution, boom. And it's very like more aggressive, more like in your face, which again, it can work really well. And also different people resonate with that. So
absolutely. And they're the kind of people that you want in your circle. And I like how you frame that. It's like, you're still using like direct response. You're still selling to the outcomes. You're still giving the features and all of that. You're just softening the edges and using a little bit more feeling to it.
Right.
Because that's what we respond to. And I like that a lot. And building the brand, because we want to relate to the person versus just like this product XYZ is going to deliver all these magical outcomes. It's like the person behind the product is who we relate to, who we buy into the product for a lot of times.
Yeah. And also just speaking to like the outcome of the outcome, which is, I think a lot of times people just speak to the first outcome of like, I made $100,000. Like, that's the outcome. What's the result of that outcome? Because you made $100,000. So what? Like, now what can you do? What can you do in your life? How does that actually impact your life? And I think being able to specifically say the heart reasons for why that's important, how that can change somebody's life. And a lot of times it comes down to like, more time for family and more time for hobbies or whatever that may be. It's like kind of connecting back to that like actual reason why. I think that's the other element that I tend to tap into as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's huge. That's super helpful. And like being able to give the outcome to the outcome. It's something I've noticed a lot in groups and stuff, is they often talk about these big number hits that they hit. And like, yes, obviously we all care about money, but what that money brings and like what you get to do with it, the experiences you get to have, the way you get to help your family and the people you love, like that's what the money really means. But you'll notice in a lot of groups, like, the more masculine energy talks about like the big numbers, while more feminine energy talks about the experiences and what those big numbers bring them. So
yeah. And how it feels to get those numbers, because I think the other reason why, obviously a lot of people are talking about the numbers like I do.
yeah, we got to talk about numbers, but
I bring in the element of like, you don't have to be convincing, and you don't have to be jumping on sales calls, and you don't have to be doing all these things that make you feel like gross. Like, oh, I don't have to feel gross when I do selling. I don't have to feel like pushy when I'm selling. I want to feel better, right? So it's kind of coming back to like the outcome, but like how is the other element of it.
Exactly. And your no convincing policy, like not being pushy, not like this is what you need to do, and having to sell is not always fun for anyone. Or some people, I guess, really like it, but
Yeah.
I like your strategy. People come to you and they resonate with your message and the brand and what you're putting out there and what you are trying to achieve and helping them to achieve. And how they're going to feel, the outcome, and everything that comes around with that. So, yeah, this has been really awesome. Is there, I'm going to open up to questions in a second here. And I do have one more myself, but I'm curious, is there anything else like around like the marketing strategy and your offers and everything that you're doing that you think would be super valuable to share?
I think just the last thing is, people come to me, but they come to me because I present reasons for them to come to me. So I think I don't just kind of sit there meditating on things and hoping that things work out for me. I think I really find reasons for people to respond and connect with me. So the content I create or the emails that I send or whatever that might be, it's all primed for people to, again, kind of, we might have talked about this a little bit, but it's all with the intention of people taking an action. That action is either purchasing, that action is responding, that action is commenting. There's something that kind of moves people forward. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of times people are like, people should just come to me and like, I should just do nothing, right? And just talk about my life and talk about how I got Starbucks today. It's like, yeah, you can do that. And let's present very obvious ways for people to have a reason to reach out to you, respond to you, so that they're not just like trying to do it out of their own volition. It's like you present the opportunities for them and they say yes or no. And that's that.
Absolutely. It's that, the pull marketing. It's putting it out there and letting them come to you, but you have to also be clear in what, and specific, like you said, and like what your outcome is and what you help them with, but let them come to you from there. I love that. I mean, you're obviously like a marketing wizard, among many other things. What are some like books or resources that you found that have been like just profoundly impactful on your business and career and life?
Oh man, books. I've read so many amazing books, and I'm so bad at remembering titles that I don't think I can recommend any specific book that comes to mind. And also I read everything on the Kindle, so I never get to see the cover of what I'm reading. So that's like makes it so much harder. I think what I've been using recently, I have been diving a lot into like AI and more automation and things like that. So I have been using ChatGPT quite a bit and using other automation and tools and stuff like that. And that has been really shifting and transforming my business in the sense that the things that I would have, which is probably going to say it's probably going to sound horrible, but the things I would have outsourced before and had people, hired for on an hourly basis, I no longer have to do. And I get to, like, with a push a button, do a lot of things. I had code being generated. I developed some things on my membership site that I would have had to hire a developer for. Just did it with ChatGPT. It was like mind blowing, helping me brainstorm, helping me. There's like automation tools for creating slides and everything. It's just that I think has been the most transformational thing for me so far, because yeah, it's like not only saving money, but saving a lot of time and not having to like learn, like having to communicate to people. I'm just not a good manager. That's like one thing I'll say. That's a weakness of mine. I don't like managing people. So I always try to keep a very, very lean team. And whenever I can like just do it myself with the help of tools, I will do it. And yeah, that's been like really blowing my mind. So for anyone that hasn't really started to dig into that, it's really not that scary. It's just a matter of like getting acquainted and like slowly dipping your toe into that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And like, creating the slides and everything, but also having something that's like your brainstorming partner and all of that. Like that's really good advice.
Yeah.
And the code part of it, I haven't used it for the code yet. I've heard people say that it's really helpful, but it really made a big difference for you, huh?
Oh yeah. It's like super cool.
All right, cool. Cool. That's helpful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Isaac here has a question, and then let's see. He says, I'm curious at what point you think a marketer might as well develop their own offer versus focus on client work. I've been moving towards that myself, and a pal of mine just lost her client out of the blue as well. Seems like a lot of people are feeling pulled toward doing their own thing these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think at any point it's a good idea to start kind of developing something of yours. So I don't know what your structure right now looks like, but if you're mainly focusing on client work, the problem with client work is that there's a cap to it unless you keep raising your rates or building out an agency. So again, because I don't like managing people, for me, the agency work, even though I tried that with when I was doing Facebook ad management, um, there's value in there and it's also very labor intensive. So I think creating either courses, group programs, group implementation programs as well, which is a really easy, I think, transition for people who do the things for a client, having the client basically taking people who are like, I want to work with you, but I can't afford to work with you. I think I'm going to try myself, be like, hey, I can help you with these things in my implementation program or in my whatever course or whatever that might be. And just kind of like adding that in, that I would say the sooner the better, as long as you have a unique way to think about the outcome or the solution that you're selling. Because if it's just kind of like a typical one-on-one, like people can typically just find that on YouTube and like be done with. So the most important thing is like from everything you've been doing with your client work, what has been like your special sauce? What do people keep coming to you for? What do you think makes you stand out from everyone else? And how can you package that up in a training format or a support type of format that can be a little bit more scalable? So the sooner the better.
I'm going to spend my weekend working on this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, it really is valuable. It's one of those things that like, so many of us put it off for so long because it's scary, but you're right with ChatGPT and everything else. Plus, like you're talking about being able to have those seasons and the flexibility, I think it's that time. So this has been really awesome. You've shared so much with us. I really appreciate it, Kamila. This has been
Thank
great.
you. I'm so glad I was able to be here and share some of my stuff with you guys.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. It's been awesome. Yeah, we're gonna leave the recording in the group, but if anybody wants to reach out to Kamila, she's at heartbehindhustle.com or on Instagram at heartbehindhustle. And I'll drop all that in the information. You also see it on YouTube and all the good things. So yeah, thank you all for listening and thanks for being here and sharing with us today, Kamila. This is really, really cool. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, guys. Have a lovely day.